we go? My watch says 9:30. All right, please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The first item on our agenda is citizen comments. Dick?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Go back to the old subject of them signs on at Bassendorf. If
Yeah.
they're gonna be taken down or not, because you're imposing 9.5 short stay tax on the park. And it don't look good to do that and then have it down there and it says day use only on the county property. And I was out there walking the beach one night and there's two cars pulled up, parked behind me, and they come out with flashlights, and then there's several other cars that parked out there during the dark, come in and walk the beach. And I think them signs ought to be down so that people using the parks and stuff can go down there at night when it's dark. You get a good moonlight and stuff, and the waves, everything, it's beautiful. And you find out anything, Bob, about what the pickups, parks, county parks pickup, using them for break times?
Use them for what?
Breaks. Like to run to the store,
Oh,
if they're working out at Bassendorf or something, to run down to the store to get a snack or something.
can you tell us what's happening?
Well, I was down there and I seen one guy with a county parks pickup drive in, go in the store, get a pop and some candy bar, drive back, and then I paid for mine and I followed him and he went right back out to Bassendorf.
Okay.
And I talked to John about that and Melissa one day.
Yeah.
That that's a personal use to go and get that stuff. The way I look at it, it's county pickup and it's personal use.
Thank
And
you.
then I talked to a guy about the signs, and that's a maintenance guy, I'm sure, out there, different guy. And he said, oh, BLM put them signs up. And I said, no, I got it on camera of the other signs. And they haven't been up there for 2 years. And he said, well, I ain't got time to argue with you. I got business to take care of. Well, he went one way and I went the other way. Well, that pickup was down at Davy Jones. I mean, if you're gonna close up the beach, I'm gonna do some holler. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you,
Thank
Dick. Any other public comments? Anybody else signed up? All right. We're going to go ahead and move on to business items. The first one is request approval of First Amendment to Employment Agreement with Dr. Collier, Coos Health and Wellness. Eric, that is a lovely coral shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not orange, I just wanted to clear that up.
Yes.
Look,
You'll
very nice.
have to turn on that one.
I thought it was
I don't know.
Oregon State Beaver.
There you go. If it was, he'd be sitting by Paul.
Snuggled up to fall. All right. Got a stack of these things. Dr. Collier was the first one?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Janine Collier agrees to take all available steps to become a member of the Southwest Oregon Independent Physicians Association, or SOIPA, and remain a member throughout the duration of this agreement. The county will pay directly to SOIPA any fees and costs associated with physicians applying for or maintaining membership. If accepted to SOIPA membership, physician will take all available steps to recommend a county advanced practice psychiatric nurse for available SOIPA benefits, including risk payments.
All right, do we have a motion?
I move the board that we sign and approve the First Amendment to the employee agreement with Dr. Janine Collier.
Do we have a second? Discussion.
I'm a little bit puzzled on the last part of the sentence, the paragraph.
The recommendations.
The physician will take available steps to recommend the county advanced practice citation and use of evidence for SWIFT benefits. What does that have to do with the doctor thing?
I think it's
We're
for,
not in agreement with this doctor, but I didn't understand what it had to do with the nurse.
I actually, I can't tell you what that means.
I'd like to table this and learn a little bit more about it. It appears to me that we are suggesting that we would pay her membership fees to SWIPA.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure we don't get something started here that's going to bite us later on.
Can you go into a little bit why we're doing this, Eric?
So the SWIPA fees, it's actually beneficial for us to have our providers be part of SWIPA for reimbursement payments for the actual appointments. Like when we do our billing, being a member of SWIPA, we will actually get a percentage, a small percentage higher than what we would have done normally for billing for OHA or OHP. So we, in our assessment, the return on investment makes sense for us to help pay those fees so it doesn't come out of the provider's pocket, because it does ultimately benefit Coos Health and Wellness from a billing standpoint.
I see. So we get this money back.
We would get more than this money back, yes.
So is Dr. Collier employed by Coos Health and Wellness?
Yes.
Yes,
Under
Oh, I didn't know
contract.
that.
yes, she's under contract, and
Okay,
yes,
that's
Yeah.
different than.
she's one of our providers.
Belong to SWIFT.
Yeah, no, she's one of our providers.
Okay.
We're doing this so that we can get better reimbursement on billing.
I see.
Right, when we,
It's a little clearer.
yeah, when we
Yeah.
started down the CCO 2.0 route, that was when we encountered the reimbursement cost issue. So previously, our providers had not been members of SWIPA, and this was the solution
Yeah.
to deal with the reimbursement rate issue.
It was such a shift in the billing structure and the payment structure from the mental health side on CCO 2.0 that they never had to be before, but now we look at it a little bit differently as far as reimbursement goes.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes more sense
Yeah.
now.
So if you're a doctor with an office and you're independent, you're not part of one of the clinics,
Mhm.
an office in the Hall building, if you want to get reimbursed from the federal or the state government, like come from the state to the Fed,
Medicaid funds.
Mhm.
you've got to be a member of SWIFA to do that?
You don't have to be, no. We have been able to bill without it so far. There's just a different reimbursement rate when you're part of the Southwest Oregon IPA as a provider than there is if you're just a standard provider billing Medicaid, Medicare. So it is kind of like I don't know the proper way to explain
Well,
it.
And the
but-
majority-
You get more money from the government than if you're not a member of
No,
SWIFA.
it's like being a
No.
preferred provider versus a non-preferred
Right.
provider under the old HMO method.
No.
It's just a different reimbursement rate. And the vast majority of physicians in our area are members of SWIPA.
Members of
There's
SWIPA,
two
yeah.
that I can think of that weren't, and I think they both left the area.
Yeah, the vast majority of them are included in this group. We just haven't had to prior because we actually held all of the mental health dollars from CCO 1.0, and then once 2.0 changed, we are now just a contractor. So we have to take some different steps to get in the SWIPA group so that we can get the right.
Right. So it's, yeah, so it's dealing with that issue. Thanks, Eric.
Mhm.
All right. John says he's fine now.
Okay,
With that
that's what I was
explanation.
wondering.
All right. Are you okay with that explanation?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Eric. We're going to ask you the exact same questions on the next one. Now, wait.
Good, I feel more prepared now for this next one.
All right. This one is the same issue, but involving Dr. Parikh.
Yes, exact same
I don't-
narrative,
I don't
Dr.
know that you
Parikh.
have to read through the whole
Same
thing.
response to the last question.
Okay. So do we have a
I
motion?
move that we approve and sign the third amendment to the employment agreement with Dr. Log.
Parikh?
Mhm.
A second.
All right. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Amendment of lease renewal. Eric?
This amendment renews the lease for 1 year for the office on North Baxter, right across from the courthouse. This house is used as office space by various Coos Health and Wellness programs. The monthly charge for the lease remains at $900.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the lease extension? Renewal?
I move we approve and sign the amendment and renewing the lease, extend the existing lease for 1 year on the office space located at 271 North Baxter Street, Coos. Monthly charge remains at $900 for this.
You have a second?
I forgot to ask, but Eric assured me that I think that we could probably use that if we needed it during the moving, shoveling the offices.
We'd have to talk about as far as like what our plans are going to be going forward, and then probably with Mr. Shelley to discuss it. But we found a closet that would be great for Bob.
Right. Did you second?
No, I was waiting for per month. He didn't say per month.
Per month.
Okay, second.
Per month.
Okay.
Samantha.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 3D, approval for out-of-class pay, resolution 20-06-114. This is for out-of-class pay for what the epidemiologist has been doing from March 1st through August 17th.
August 17th.
And terminating, the out-of-class pay terminates on August 17th.
August
correct?
17th, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the working out of class pay for Brian Leon at resolution 20-06-114P, retroactive March 1st, 2020, ending at August 17th, 2020.
Second.
Discussion?
So the essence of this is that Brian, during part of the course of this pandemic, has moved up from being the epidemiologist to having some management.
Yes,
Supervisory.
he went from our subject matter expert epidemiologist at the beginning of this COVID-19 pandemic, and then once we ramped up into the contact tracing aspect of it, he took over as the operations section chief, overseeing contact tracers, case investigators, and the rest of the ops team, and he's done so up into August 17th, and we believe that that was well above and beyond the duties of an epidemiologist.
I agree. Now, are these costs recoverable?
Almost all of our COVID-19 costs can be recovered through FEMA funding and reimbursement due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are doing everything we can.
In almost all of them.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
No.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Request approval to hire public health director/administrator at up to step 3. Eric?
We've panel interviewed 7 candidates for the position of the public health director/public health administrator. Held second interviews, we held meet and greets with the top 2 candidates, and we've narrowed it down. Since this description was written and submitted, we've narrowed it down to 1 candidate that has a long list of experience as a public health administrator and is someone who seems to fight for grant funding for public health and really move her public health departments forward in the ones that she's worked on. So we would like to have the ability to potentially hire her up to step 3 on the 819 pay scale for this position.
Okay.
I move we approve hiring of a public health director up to and including step 3 of pay scale 819.
The second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. Huh?
Is the person available to come here and take the job?
I believe they're in negotiations right now, discussing all of that, and in back now? Are they? Yeah, she's going through background right now.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Request award of aerial spray contract, forestry.
So,
Good morning, Kathy.
good morning. Quotes were solicited for performing aerial spray on approximately 337 acres of county forest lands. One quote was received from Western Helicopter Services Incorporated at the rate of $36 an acre.
Madam Chair, move to award contract SP-1-20 to Western Helicopter Services, Inc. at the quoted price of $36 per acre.
Second? Kathy, do you know what that is compared to last year?
Last year it was $34.80,
Okay.
so went down a little bit.
Okay.
You know, the amount's only a little over $12,000. That's surprisingly low
Yeah.
to me. Right?
Yeah, no, I just was wondering
Yeah.
what the numbers were doing. I know that we've had difficulty finding more than one person to quote on these for a while
Right.
now, so,
Right. So we were happy to get the one quote at least.
exactly.
And same company as last year too.
Good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Request award of planting contracts, forestry.
Quotes were solicited for planting approximately 121,000 seedlings on county forest lands. One bid was received from Rye Tree Service at the rate of $430 a thousand for seedlings.
I move we approve the use of informal quotes and awards contract PL-1-20 to Rye Tree Service
Bless you.
Incorporated at the quoted price of $430 per thousand seedlings.
Second.
Discussion?
This name rings a bell.
They planted last year.
Did they? He probably felt it has had some association with them.
And
Really?
so are there numbers?
It did go up. It was $375 last year.
375 last year. Okay. But you did try to get other,
We did. We, actually, just one bid was received. We sent to quite a few people.
but you did, yeah, reach out to other people.
Yeah,
So, Okay, all right,
Let's see, I'll tell you how many.
thanks.
Oh, thought I had it right in here. I'm sure it was maybe 10.
Okay,
I mean, we sent to a whole list of folks
right,
who had their board certification.
okay, yeah.
So.
Well, we can't make people bid, I suppose.
No.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Request award of forest labor contract.
Okay, so quotes were solicited for performing 1,500 hours of forest labor on county forest lands. So 3 quotes were received with Willamette Valley Forestry submitting the low quote of $37 an hour.
I move approval of the use of informal quotes and awards contract FL-1-20 to Willamette Valley Forestry at the quoted price of $37 per hour.
Okay.
Second.
And just to be clear, Kathy, you're saying forest labor and not forced labor, just so people know.
What?
I said, just to be clear, you're saying forest
think
labor
that-
and not forced labor. Sounds similar.
What type of work do they do? Just for-
Whatever they tell them to do.
They do quite a bit. Actually, they've done planting for us. They've worked when we had a fire out there. I know planting sounded odd, but actually last year we received some extra seedlings,
Right.
beyond our planting contract, and so we
Yep.
used them to plant them. Last year we paid $38 an hour.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Kathy.
you.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep, thank you.
Request approval of revised job description and reclass for Parks Operations Supervisor. Parks? Morning, John.
So this is about Craig, and Craig's been under my supervision for the last over a year now. I think he's really stepped up. He's kind of evolved into a managing position, so I want to change him from the Parks Operations Supervisor to the Parks Operations Manager. So, I mean, right now he's supervising 9 staff, and he has about 21 other temporary staff, caretakers and hosts and stuff. And he's just, I mean, he's key to my success at the parks right now. He's a key person, him and Tammy. So I want to move him up, and we have him listed at going from pay grade 749 to 729, and at step 2, it's a $1.19 an hour raise is all. I'd like to take him and change this and make him a step 3, and that's a $1.92 an hour raise. So that's my request.
So you're suggesting step 3, which would increase $1.19 would equal $207 a month, $1.93 would be,
It's about $332 a month change.
and would we have to change
You'd have to change the resolution.
the resolution?
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna do that, I think you gotta table it and take it back
Can we do that?
and fix the resolution. I think, maybe I'm wrong,
Mhm.
but I will say, I totally appreciate what you're saying. If we're gonna do a change in the job description, that kind of thing, it's more helpful to me to hear, he was supervising this number of people and now he's doing this, what those changes are. Because the problem is, every supervisor in the county has people that are doing really good work, and they'd like to be able to give them more money. But we need to be able to justify how they're doing different work than they were doing before. Because
He's
we,
doing different work than he's been
Yeah.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
and I appreciate that.
But I just don't think step 2, like it's written, is enough.
So you want to come back?
I want to come back and
Okay.
do this step 3,
All right.
or take it to the work group.
And we have the work group next week. You're welcome to bring it to work group, work with Caroline.
Yeah, I'll let Paul take it. We have DEQ meetings, so I'll let Paul bring it.
You have a DEQ meeting? You're not coming to the staff meeting? Huh. I guess that says something about priorities.
The state says
All
something
right.
like jump.
All right, I see how it is. All right, so next
Yeah.
week, Paul will bring it? All right, thanks, John. Do you have anything else?
No,
No,
that's it.
he doesn't.
Oh, well, thanks anyway. All right, request approval to purchase server and associated software. Sheriff. Good morning, Darius.
Good morning. I'm filling in, so I'm not an expert on this, but I'll just read it as it
Sir,
is.
you'll do a great job.
Purchase of a new server for eForce computer-assisted dispatch, records management system, and jail management system.
Okay?
The server that supports county and North Bend dispatch records and jail software is old and past due for replacement. The funds have been collected and held as part of the EFAB group, which was recently transferred to county finance for use from North Bend. CDWG falls under a state of Oregon purchasing agreement and aligns with County Rule 10.112, state cooperative purchasing procurements, foregoing the need for a competitive bid.
Okay.
We request approve the purchase of a Dell Base SV R540 server and associated software and licenses for a total of $24,923.58.
Madam Chair, move to approve the purchase of a Dell BASESV R540 server and associated software and licenses for a total of $24,923.58.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Darius.
Thank you.
You can tell them you killed it, right? They didn't even ask any questions. All right, motion for the consent calendar.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Mr. Frazier, request approval to post and fill Deputy DA 1 or 2?
Good morning.
Good
Um,
morning.
As you're aware, we've had a resignation in my office. One of actually the youngest deputy DA I have, one has been with us this period of time. He's been with us a year and a half, has resigned effective September the 4th. I'd be taking a job in the Portland area, and I'm asking permission to fill the position as a deputy DA 1 up to step 3.
Madam Chair, move to approve and advertise filling position of Deputy District Attorney 1 or 2 if it becomes vacant, up to step 3, did you say?
Deputy DA one up to level 3. I don't need,
Oh, level 3.
or
Okay.
step
Or
3.
position 2.
I don't have an open Deputy DA 2 position, so it's a DA 1 position. That's what we're budgeted for.
I'm just reading what's on here.
Oh, okay.
Advertising
So-
or filling deputy DA 1 or 2 position.
Restate my motion, approve advertising and filling a position of Deputy District Attorney 1 up to step 3.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Well, we've actually had one inquiry from someone that might be promising already. A person who has already bought a house in Coos Bay. Unfortunately, she is not a member of the bar yet, so of the Oregon State Bar. She is a member of the Washington Bar.
Oh,
So
so she can reciprocity in.
she shows some promise, what we've seen so far, but we'll see.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Request approval of coronavirus emergency supplemental fund grant and authorized chair to sign. Community corrections.
Good morning.
Morning,
Good
Michael.
morning.
Mike Krim, Community Corrections Director. Here to ask the board to approve the Criminal Justice Commission Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Grant Agreement for Coos County in the amount of $76,837. A grant agreement is for the $76,837, $56,194 for community corrections, $19,432 for the juvenile department, $1,211 for the district attorney's office, to be used to purchase PPE equipment, housing, and laptops. This is a federal grant, 100% funded by a federal grant. Ask the board to approve the Criminal Justice Commission Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Grant for Coos County in the amount of $76,837.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I thank you for taking the initiative to apply for this grant and move approval of Criminal Justice Commission Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Fund Grant Agreement for Coos County in an amount of $76,837 and authorize the chair to sign.
A second.
Discussion? John already said it for all of us. Thank you for taking the initiative.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Good job.
I feel like we need you and Paul to stand next to each other.
Have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
I sure like that mic. And the colors he wears.
Request approval to purchase copier planning. Good morning, Crystal.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I've never done this. but-
Okay, you just have to tell us, it looks like you have a new copier in the budget, right?
Yes, we want approval to purchase a new copier that we already have to replace our old copier, so I hope you approve it because we already have it.
Well, perfect timing then.
I move we approve purchase of a new colorless copier to replace the old copier, the amount being $8,864.
I second.
All right, discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, that was it
Good
for you.
job.
Thanks,
Okay,
Crystal.
thank you.
Pretty tough, huh?
Yeah.
Come back again.
Yeah. Approval of collective bargaining agreement with CADS. Anthony.
The current collective bargaining agreement with the Coos Association of Deputy Sheriffs expired on June 30th, 2020. We're requesting the board approve and sign the collective bargaining agreement with CADS for July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2022.
All right. Motion? I move to approve and sign the collective bargaining agreement with CADS dated July 1st, 2020 through
Second.
June 30th, 2022.
Second.
All right,
Second.
discussion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. I believe we may have some commissioners' reports coming up. Would one of you like to go first?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
One significant one that I attended in Lakeside was that the chief of the Confederated Tribes of Coos, Loronca, and Siuslaw contacted me about trying to do something with the water quality on 10 Mile Lakes. Chief Doc Slider and I held a meeting in Lakeside last week. In attendance was DEQ from the state, DSL, ODF&W, the city of Lakeside, TLBP, 10 Mile Lakes Basin Project people, 10 Mile Lake Owners Association, realtors, can't think of them all, I guess. We had a 2-hour discussion about what to do, and basically, to paraphrase it, we are going to try and decide how to control the algae bloom, et cetera, in the lake. And there's many, many reasons why we're having that problem. So I assigned some folks to look into different methods of controlling those weeds. And probably in October, we will get together again and go through some of those methods of controlling the weeds. And hopefully we might have some answers. And then we would need to proceed with trying to obtain grants for that. That's it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I appreciate the work you're doing on that.
It's failed, I know. There had other meetings over the years. I think it's failed 3 or 4 times. People get all interested in doing it, and then after a year or so, it kind of goes away and they forget about it. Hopefully, we'll get something done this time, because it is a hazard.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know how related this most recent fatality was.
Oh, the 2 of them?
The 2 drownings,
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
I was told.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I was told that the weeds, the amount of weeds and all that played a part in it.
I don't know any details.
Yeah. So,
It was unfortunate, though.
it was unfortunate. It's terrible.
Mhm.
All right. Commissioner Sweet?
I'll take this off, I can talk more easily. County parks are very busy. We've been pretty much full on the weekends, and people are staying longer, spending more time during the middle of the week than in years past. So that's all positive. I think John and his staff are doing a great job of cleaning the parks up, making some improvements. Yet to come at Powers, for instance, is a repaving of the roads through the park and the parking area. It's pretty shoddy right now. Some improvements of the tennis courts there. One of the courts will be converted to a pickleball court, which is seems to be an up-and-coming new tennis-type sport. That should be a good attraction there.
Bob's a pickleball player.
Yeah,
Never
he'd be
played
good at
before.
it. In general, the parks have just, our maintenance department was instrumental in rebuilding one of the main toilet buildings and shower buildings at Laverne Park. There's just a general improvement of the appearance and quality of our parks. And I thank John for that, and Craig, who he talked about this morning, has really stepped up and has, he's kind of running the crews and doing a very good job of that, near as I can tell. Forestry, we have a couple timber sales planned coming up here in the next few months. Lance took the initiative to do that rather than waiting until next spring, which has been traditional. His timing, I think, is very, very good. Lumber and plywood prices have risen to record highs across
All-time high.
across the nation. So that bodes well for our local sawmills and plywood plants, probably singular, sawmill and plywood plant, as well as for our timber sales program. Bike trails, I stop by there periodically, continue to get high praises for those. I ran into a fellow who was up here, he had just graduated from MIT and was visiting Coos County with his parents from the San Francisco Bay Area, and said these were the best trails he'd ever been on.
Wow.
He started bike riding day before yesterday. No, he seemed experienced. So that continues to be a big draw, and they garner lots of praise.
Good.
That's all I have.
Madam Chair.
Oh, hold on, I do have one more thing. County Forest Trust lands. May I talk about that?
Go ahead.
A week ago, 2 weeks ago, this coming Friday, the County Forest Association of County Forest Trust Lands had a meeting to discuss the Oregon Department of Forestry's plans for a new harvest regimen on those lands. We're not a big player in that. There's some 600,000 acres of these lands in western Oregon, another 100,000 in central Oregon. We have just 7,000 of those acres. In the last 7 years, there's, I think, been 28 acres harvested on our lands, or $28 received. I can't remember, some insignificantly small
Yeah,
number.
54, and they took
And then
it
they
back.
keep keeping our money.
And
They keep keeping.
But
We get it now? Oh, good. That'll make Bob feel better.
But the Board of Forestry is negotiating with the federal government to create what they call a habitat, is it HMP, habitat?
HCP.
HCP.
Habitat Conservation Plan.
Habitat Conservation Plan. And the way it's currently being negotiated, it would result in a significant reduction in the amount of acreage that will be harvested from these lands. Doesn't hurt us too much, hard to get lower than zero, but it doesn't bode well for any future harvest or revenues coming from those lands. Very damaging to counties like Tillamook,
That's
up in the northwest corner of the state, that have hundreds of thousands of acres in this program. And we were very fortunate that our county forefathers decided to only put 7,000 acres into that program and leave us with 15,000 acres to manage ourselves, because we're getting nothing out of that 7,000 acres, and we're averaging around $3 million a year profit out of our 15,000. So, any rate, it's just one more step that the state and federal government seem to be willing to take to reduce or eliminate any harvest of forests under their management. The Association of County Forest Trust Lands is working hard to counter that proposed reduction in harvest levels, but I'm not optimistic that will prevail. Bob may have other things to say about that.
Well, in addition, I was on the phone too with it.
I was on the
Yeah.
phone too. I was.
I didn't know you were there.
I know, I didn't do Zoom, I was driving.
Oh, okay. But anyway, the whole reason for the Oregon State Department of Forestry wanted, the Forest Lands Group, thus counties, to meet with them over the HCP, which their proposed HCP would be a huge reduction in the amount of available lands for actual forest production. They would then, in my own opinion, would then use that, even if we didn't agree, but we had a meeting with them, check off the box that we somehow agreed, and they would use that for the upcoming appeal on the court case that we won on the $1.1 billion losses that we've all suffered. I was thinking they would use that against us in the court when they appealed. So none of us on the Forest Trust Lands Committee are agreeing to meet with the state over the HCP. And I forgot one other thing too. As of last Friday, the city of Lakeside now has ATVs going up and down the streets, on designated streets, to and from Spin Rail Park and out to the dunes. And so far, it's been pretty good for everybody. One of our deputies, you may have read in the paper, was out by the road just north of Spin Reel when he observed an ATV going by without headlights and things that they're supposed to have. Went to stop that person, and that person took off and tried to evade through the mobile park and finally abandoned the ATV and ran out to the railroad tracks and down the tracks. And they finally captured the person and found out that he was wanted on multiple things, including the theft of that ATV. So, interesting.
It's a shame when people don't get lights on their stolen ATVs.
Yeah,
They'll
apparently
steal a
not.
better ATV next time.
So, there was a positive, besides
I
the
take it you're
commerce
done.
going on in Lakeside, over opening up the roads to ATVs for Lakeside.
Well, yes,
It was fairly exciting, I guess.
it appears that so far so good.
It's working out, yeah, so far.
Yeah, hopefully people will continue to self-police and they'll stay that way.
It could be a positive thing for our parks.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna allow ATVs that are being brought in as part of their camping to the 10-mile county park.
Wasn't our two brothers drowned at Lakeside yesterday or Sunday, wherever it was?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
A couple days ago,
Was on the news.
kayak accident.
Yeah, unfortunate. The one apparently rolled over in the kayak, couldn't get back to the kayak. The other brother saw what was happening, dove in without a life jacket. Neither one of them had life jackets on. They both end up perishing or drowning. It was really unfortunate. Wear your life jackets when you're boating. And young kids need them when they're swimming too. Because you can't always watch the kid every second of every minute.
All right, anything else?
Enough of my rant.
Speaking of young kids, an issue has come up. As many of you know, schools likely are not going to be reopening in the fall, not in person. It'll be virtual education, given the metrics that are required for schools to reopen. It is possible that K through 3 will open. Josephine County has raised the issue that children aren't allowed to stay home alone until they're 10 years old. So this is going to create a problem because 4th and 5th graders will be attending virtual school. K through 3 will probably be in person. Where's the caregiving going to come from for 4th and 5th graders? So Josephine County has written a letter to the governor's office asking them to rethink that and include up to 5th grade. I think we should support that. We don't necessarily have to do it in a letter, but there's a call to the governor's office, and I think we should support that. I think it's a problem. Eric's nodding. He knows where the problem is too. He has his own kids.
And a school board member.
Yes, exactly.
Is there, would there be funding available to support that? That's the other part of it.
To support
Yeah.
childcare for people, or?
Well, to support the extra teachers, my understanding is that if the children are being out of the classroom learning, you can somehow get larger classes.
I don't even know where they came up with a K through 3.
And so-
It seems a little
So
arbitrary
they're
to me.
taking teachers from the upper classes and putting them down in the K through 3 classes, so you can have social distancing within the classroom.
Yeah, but where did they come up with 3rd grade as the line? Eric, do you want to weigh in as a school board member at all?
I think it had to do with, they had the belief that K through 3 needed a certain amount of in-person education, that they wouldn't be accustomed to the education process yet to be able to transition to something like an online
That's exactly right.
Thanks, John.
Finally.
I got one right.
But I feel like there is a big hole there that nobody
Yeah.
was looking at with the fourth and fifth
Yeah,
graders.
and I think there is too, but along with it, it's gonna cost the school districts, I think, more money than the current plan of having only K through 3 in the classroom. So it's not gonna do much good to say that unless there's more money to support more teachers.
Well, we're paying our teachers anyway. So whether they're teaching in class or they're teaching online, they're still getting their salary. So it's not like a deficit one way or the other. And I believe, I'd have to look into it, but I know last year we were still doing all of our food services. And I think that there's gonna be some push to that, I would imagine, because there's a lot of kids with food insecurity at home.
Right.
So if we're already making food and we're already paying our teachers, really we're just paying the electric bill at that point. And I think that for those families that don't have the capacity to stay at home or don't have the capacity to have their child stay at home by themselves, there's a big gap. There's a large gap where people are gonna have to start working from home or have to not work at all. So
Or they'll just leave the kids home. I mean, and that's honestly what will happen. A lot of parents will make that hard choice, that like, well,
It's not
they're
good.
online anyway doing school, I'm just gonna leave them home and I'll call every couple hours and make sure they're okay. And it's not a safe situation.
That's
No,
not good.
it's horrible.
And so I don't know that we have to identify where the funding comes from, but I think if the question comes up, we need to say that we support it.
Yeah, I'm certainly willing to do that.
So,
Mhm.
But my understanding is that in order to have the K through 3 kids in the classroom, you're going to have adequate social spacing. You're going to have more K through 3 classrooms and teachers than you would otherwise have.
I think
There
the
are
school
some
district should at
plans.
least have the flexibility to be able to decide for themselves.
But if they can't, yeah.
I mean, if they can't, they can't.
Yeah.
But I want us to at least
Okay.
support the school districts having the flexibility to decide. Because that K through 3 was a decision that was passed down from the state.
Yeah.
And I think the school district should have the flexibility if they want to figure out a way to do it.
Now, that's fine with me, but it would be helpful if the state would also have funding, and they have funding. They're getting from the federal government, but they're not distributing it to the local taxing districts,
As we will know, yeah.
as we will. So
Yeah.
there's a more complete answer than just saying you shouldn't do this. And that complete answer is to say, get off the dime and use some of that money you're sitting on from the federal government, in my view.
Yeah. Yeah. I just didn't want the pushback of like, that's not what we're going to use CARES Act funding for, or, we're saving the CARES Act funding for this or that. Frankly, I don't care what funding they come up with
Yeah,
to make it happen, but I don't want to see kids in dangerous situations because
I agree.
parents, are having to make bad choices. All right, and that's enough for me for the day. We did get the news that we have filed for we filed a phase 3 grant application for Whiskey Run to do the last 8 miles.
Oh,
And I got feedback from state parks that like there's a couple documents that need to be updated, but it looks like, they haven't told us that we're not eligible.
wow.
So that's good news, yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Continuing to
You have to
shepherd.
rename those after you.
Nope,
or
I'm good.
After a while here.
Nope, wait till I die.
The Jim Celia.
All right, we are adjourned. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. You want to sign stuff here?
Sure.
Yeah, I talked to her about it yesterday. We want to kind of hash out what it looks like, and I want to talk to them when Mike gets back. If we're going to go to a team A, team B approach, we're going to need more people. So if that's the direction we want to go, we need to pull the turbines and stuff. So we're going to talk to him about that. And then if we are going to